to the computer. Hi, this is Stuart Nachbar with Educated Quest. With me today is Johnnie Johnson. He is the Vice President for Enrollment Management at Washington College in Maryland. Washington College is the 10th oldest college in the country, founded with a gift by America's first president, George Washington. And it's got a legacy tied to the history of America because of its age. Its location in southern Maryland in Chestertown is also tied to the history of our country. Johnnie, thank you for joining me this morning.
I really appreciate the time. Thank you for having me.
I visited Washington College. I hate to admit it, it was a decade ago.
Okay.
So I imagine there's things that have changed. I've heard about things along the waterfront in Chester that tie to the academics,
hmm
as well as things in the downtown. And there's also been things in the academic programs that have evolved. Can you tell me more about that?
Sure, sure. And again, thanks for having me on and talking about this great place. Where we're located on the Eastern Shore is going to be one of our calling cards because it is our calling card because we are on the Chester River, and our newest building or new facility that you were just mentioning is the Center for Environment and Society. And we are huge into environmental studies, environmental science, marine studies, and really helping students understand their place in society based on the environment. We also have a 5,000 acre river and field campus, which is on the other side of the Chester River. We have a we have a bird banding station. We have hiking, and it's going to be a site for some other research facilities. So students really get hands-on activity, and that's a true statement when they're studying environmental science as it relates to the environment, to business, to chemistry, to biology, all these different academic programs.
And curious, within general education, courses that everyone has to pick one from social
Sure.
science and natural science, math, humanities. How does that fit with everyone in any major?
Because of who we are, we almost make it a requirement that you're going to take at least one course on environmental science or environmental policy. We challenge our students to be citizen leaders. Well, a citizen leader is not just a person that can talk about different topics that relates to business or politics, but they also have to talk about environment because you have to be a community partner with others. And so, part of our general education requirement is an environmental science uh, class or coursework or things like that that encourages students to be involved. You know, physically in the environment, not just learning about it.
So, will the college need to grow the faculty as it grows over the next few years to grow the faculty to support that?
Not at this point. We do believe that where we are on our student to faculty ratio, we have some room already. We're about a 9-to-1 student to teacher ratio.
Wow.
And as we grow, we think, with the current faculty that we have, 11-to-1 is still in the capabilities of who we are. Um, we do have adjuncts from time to time, but 95% of our faculty members are PhD, tenure track, holding tenure track positions, right? And so as we grow student population wise, our faculty are still able to keep that intimate relationship with their students.
Yeah, this is not a large lecture class school, I would think.
It is not. I mean, the average class size is 15 students. And students that come here are looking for an environment like this, both, where we are on the Chester River and an atmosphere like this within the classroom. And so you're looking to, be able to discuss and ask questions and not just sit in a lecture hall.
Now, environmental science is growing. What about things that are you'd think with a college with this kind of history, like history majors and politics and so on?
Sure.
How have they been growing?
A couple things. One, our most popular major remains business management, business administration. And we recently received a $15 million gift from one of our alum for a new business building.
Wow.
So that's coming in the next 3 to 5 years, a new bit, and it's going to have a global component to it. So not only, domestic and, business management, but an international component to it. So that's always the last 4 or 5 years, business management has been our number one. Um, but we do, in addition to the Center for Environment and Society, one of our other calling cards is the Star Center for American History, and it's also on the waterfront, but it's history and political science related. You mentioned our place in history being the 10th oldest college in the nation. Well, the Star Center focuses on that. And anything from the founding of the country to the historic uh, enslavement of people in our history, and learning about the place of how that has evolved over the time. Um, the site where we are was a huge part of the founding of this nation, and so we can't ignore that. And so we do our Star Center celebrates that history and talks about it in the fact of in a way of having our students do research and learn about it.
And also, I also saw some things about the English program here.
The Rose O'Neill Literary House. So, and for short, the kids call it the Lit House. Um, that is for English, creative writing, communications, and it has the largest single academic scholarship for English with the Sophie Kerr Scholarship. Last year, one recipient received $78,000 for the Sophie Kerr Prize. We award that to one senior each year. This year, we had 5 students compete for it with their writing and their essays and presentations. And one senior was awarded 78,000. It is the largest single scholarship for English in the country.
And that's someone who's a rising senior.
There will be a rising senior, so they'll be able to use that money for, of course, scholarship, but also for research and for travel and presentation. Yes.
And when students, prospects, and their parents come to visit, what do they notice that makes them want to say yes?
That's a great question. I often tell students as you're visiting colleges and when you visit Washington College, I want you to walk around and envision yourself as a student. So take off the high school clothes and put on the 19-year-old clothes and say, I'm walking around as a student now. And honestly, students will tell me I can see myself in that classroom because when they visit a class and they visit a space where students and teachers are interacting, they see themselves there. So that's the first thing students notice. They see the interaction between students and faculty and how the learning has evolved. You're not, again, we're not a lecture uh, institution. The second thing they notice is just the camaraderie of students walking around campus. We are a small residential campus. We have about 1,000 students on campus. Students know each other. And so when they're being toured around campus, their tour guide stops several times because they're stopping and talking to friends. And again, I just want students to envision themselves like that as they're touring our campus.
Are interviews required for admission, recommended for admission?
They're definitely recommended, not required. And we can do them virtually. The pandemic taught us a lot about technology and a lot about ourselves. So we can do them virtually for students that can't get here, or we would do them in person. They are required for our top scholarships. So for academic scholarships, as they are entering as a first year student, we do have interviews for those, but just on your campus visit, they're just recommended.
Have most people who deposited taken a visit?
Great question. 60% of this entering class has an official visit. So that other 40%, I'm hoping, and I assume they've been on campus, whether through friends or maybe they've come through the athletic department that didn't come through us, or they've toured around with other family members. But I know that 60% of this incoming class had an official visit with us.
And the how do students use aside from the academics, like the Star Center, and the environment and the Center for the Environment and Society, how do students use the community? How did they become involved in the community?
Well, Chestertown is a town of about 5,000 residents. And if you ever come on our campus, and I hope you do, and I know you've been here before, you'll hear WAC. And I had to learn what that meant because in the other form, WAC means bad, right?
Yeah.
But WAC is Washington and Chestertown. And that shows you the community and Washington College are combined. We see ourselves as one, Washington and Chestertown. So when you say I'm going to WAC or I'm a WAC student or I've got my WAC research going on, you're doing it at Washington College in Chestertown. The Star Center, the Center for Environmental Society are off campus. They are in town. They're in the community. And so again, our students are interacting all the time with community members.
And the athletic programs, you compete in the same conference as Gettysburg and
Mm-hmm.
Dickinson, F&M,
Mm-hmm.
Swarthmore. Um, how do the athlete, is that an attraction to get an athlete?
Yeah, we're in the Centennial Conference, which is those schools that you mentioned are there. I would say that our most popular sports are lacrosse, men and women's, volleyball, basketball. Our baseball team is growing now. We're adding track and field. So in the fall of 25,
Oh,
we'll have
wow.
track, field, and cross country. And we added golf last year. About 42, 43% of our students are athletes. So it's a well supported part of the campus. If you have that many students who are athletes, that means you have friends outside of your sport. So they're well attended. The school spirit is unbelievable. We don't have football, so our homecoming is centered around soccer and lacrosse.
Okay. And are there other events? One thing I did notice in the past
Mhm.
with Washington College is there were a lot of events that brought parents back.
Yes, yes. So
Are those events part of the homecoming, still part of a homecoming?
So you've got the homecoming event in the fall, which of course you're always going to have your parents and alumni come back for that. We do have a parents weekend that's separate for homecoming in the fall. Birthday ball is a big event. Of course, birthday ball celebrates George Washington's birthday since he gave us his name, in 1782 for the college. So it's a big formal event. Not many colleges still have formal events, but our students, tuxedos, formal dresses, alumni come back. It's a big to do on
Oh.
campus. And then we started a concert series. So this past year we had Jake Owen, national country music artist, on our campus in the spring. So we have a spring concert series. So we'll be doing that on a yearly basis now. So that's another one of our traditions.
And what academic programs are you looking to grow?
Sure. I would say one, that business with the business school, that's going to be a huge growth point for us. We did add data science this year as a new academic program. We know that students are interested in analyzing data and computer science and technology, whether it's for social media or for business or for anything else. Data science is such a huge component of where our lives are now as compared to 15 years ago. Education is looking to do some unique and different things where we're probably going to add a coaching major or a coaching minor. So for students who are interested in coaching or possibly being a sports agent, that's going to be a new component for us. So those are some of the newer programs that are coming along.
And it's a fairly standard set of general education requirements right now.
It's pretty standard where you're going to take your certain batch of classes in the humanities. So your history, your English, your psychologies. You're going to take your sciences, so a biology or a chemistry. You're going to take foreign language with the college. If you don't test out of it from your high school classes, we offer Spanish, French, German, and Chinese, which not a lot of colleges offer Chinese. And then there's either like a physical education component to it, physical or mental class, component, because you'll see across campus, we're focused on the mind, but we're also focused on the body.
So If you were a totally uncoordinated person when you walked into the school, should you look at another school?
No, no, we definitely want you to make sure you take something. Listen, when I was in college, I took bowling. You can take a fun class like that um, to as a physical education course to make sure you're staying active, right? It's not just about the study in the classroom and getting out, with your peers, but you still do be active. And as a residential campus, you'll want to do that.
Who would be happy? You have a who would be happiest at
Sure.
Washington College?
I think that's a great question. Students that want to come to a place that is somewhat rural, but you're looking for an environment where you're going to be a name, not a number. You do want to have access to major metropolitan areas. We're an hour and a half from Baltimore and Washington, D.C. We're 2 hours from Philadelphia. But you also want to have great outcomes. And the students who are looking to continue their education in a graduate program or a professional career, we have great outcomes for our students to push them to that next level once they leave this place.
And when you're looking at when you and your team are looking at applications,
Mhm.
what are you looking for?
Well, we're definitely looking for a transcript that shows progression. And it's not just the grades in progression, but the challenging classes. So, are these students challenging themselves with honors or AP courses? Are they doing dual enrollment type coursework if they have an opportunity to do that? Because I tell students all the time college does not get easier, it gets harder. So I want students, even during the senior year of their high school career, to be taking challenging classes to prep themselves for college. We want students who like to write because there's a lot of writing in college, and especially at Washington College. For so long, we were known as a writing college, and it's one of the reasons the Rose O'Neill Lit House is a calling card for us as well. And again, we want students who are wanting to be in this environment. This is a different place. You're not in an urban environment. You're in a rural environment, so you have to want to be in a location like this
Do you get people who who came from a totally different environment?
all the time. Even students who are an hour across the Bay Bridge in Baltimore, who have lived in a city their whole life and now are in a rural environment like Chestertown, and they love it. And I'm a similar case from Chicago to Iowa. You come to a place where it's so different than what you've grown up with, but your focus is education and growth and maturity. And we get students who are looking for that. So whether you have a city background, an urban background, a farm background, or a rural background, we have students of all kinds.
If you were to talk to someone from Baltimore, and I happen to live near Philadelphia,
Sure.
or Philadelphia about Washington College, and they've lived in that city
Yeah.
most or all of their life, what would you tell them about settling into a community with less than 6,000 people?
I would warn them that it's going to be different, and I want them to come visit first. And that's just the honesty about it. I can tell them that I've done it, so I have the experience there going from Chicago to Iowa, but I can't live for that student or live for that family. So I have to encourage that student from Baltimore or Philly or DC or Atlanta, come visit before you make that decision, because it will be different, and you have to adjust to a life that is in a small town versus a metropolitan area where there's activity all the time. In a small rural area, activity is slower, and so you do have to prepare yourself for that. And you can't get that from looking at a website. You can't get that from looking at a brochure. You do have to visit.
If the college played football, let's say it had a
Sure.
couple hundred more students and it played football, would it be a different school?
Probably. I think I think the nature of football or a major sport like that could possibly change the culture of who we are. I will be honest with you, we've debated should we add football, and we unanimously across our executive team come across with no. We like who we are at this point. Adding track is different than adding football. And so there's also some Title IX implications there to make sure we're equivalent with our sports.
Yeah.
Track, you can add male and female components to it. If you add football, well, then there's got to be another female, sport.
Right.
So track is maybe the way to go for us, similar to what we did with golf. There's a male and female component there. So I think it would change the culture, and I think that's why we decided not to.
Last question. 10 years ago, when I visited Washington College, I
Yeah.
went in the bookstore and I saw this banner, and I'm going to put this on the post, that said
Okay.
Goose Country. Yet I watched some I watched some Wacapella videos, and
Yeah.
the T-shirt said Goose Nation.
Uh-huh.
Which is it, Goose Country or Goose Nation?
Goose. I'm gonna put this in the Goose Nation.
Okay.
Goose Nation.
Okay. And
Yeah.
I'll
So
and
we
I'll make
are.
sure I get that right as well.
Our mascot is Gus the Goose, but our athletes are shoremen or shorewomen, but our mascot is a goose. And that's
And
really because of the flight pattern of a certain Canadian goose, the Canadian geese that fly through the Eastern Shore. And that's the relationship with us and the geese and the goose.
is that a new logo? Is that a fairly new logo?
It's probably been around for the last 5 or 6 years. You'll see it on my shirt as
Like the
well.
Maryland colors.
But got the Maryland flag with the goose. That's
Oh,
right.
that's cool. That's really
Yeah.
cool. Well, if I that Johnny, thank you for the time. Um, if you are interested, particularly in politics, history, English literature, psychology is another, I believe, another strength of
Mhm.
this college, and you want to be in a environment where you see the history around you, I recommend checking out Washington College. Thank you.
Thank you so